see, how was it? I really can't remember. Wayne and his friend Dwayne were in the military. Became friends down at Fort Leonard Wood. Both of them in the medics in the Army. And then Dwayne got transferred out to Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. But before they did that, there were a lot of Seventh-day Adventist men down there in the medics. And they would all go together to a little country church around there. And there was only so many girls in these little country churches to go around. And there weren't enough. And so Dwayne had gone and bought himself a brand new car. Seems to me like it was a Plymouth. And he came back from his trip back home, threw Wayne a set of keys, and he said, anytime you want to drive the car, it's yours to drive. Well, he and Dwayne decided that on Sabbath morning, they would get up really early, and just the two of them would come to Springfield. That was like, how far away is it? An hour, maybe? Maybe I
Yeah,
can't
a little
remember.
bit more, maybe.
It's probably more than an hour up old Highway 66, Route 66. They would come up to Springfield to see if there were any girls here. And they came, just the two military men. And Dr. Philpott and his wife invited Wayne and Dwayne and Shirley Brockman and Rosemarie home for lunch. And they went to Dr. Philpott and his wife's house for lunch, and then they came to our house with Rose and Shirley Brockman and Dwayne. And they were going to the Ozark Jubilee that night. And they invited me to go along because I didn't have a date that night. I was fighting with my boyfriend. And so, of course, I was happy to go. And Wayne, there was some kind of an altercation outside of the Ozark Jubilee. And Wayne always liked to see what excitement was going on. And I did too. So we both jumped out and followed the security out to see what was going on outside the theater. And we came in, and Wayne liked me a lot better than he liked Shirley Brockman. And he became my boyfriend, and Dwayne became Rosemarie's boyfriend. And Rose and Dwayne got married first, and Wayne was going to be, I think, their best man in the wedding. And after Dwayne got dismissed from the Army first. And Wayne was still in the Army, and he would come up every Saturday up Old Route 66 to see me. And then when he got out of the Army, I was working down on the square, and my mother called and said she'd heard on the radio that there'd been a car accident involving Wayne. He'd been injured in a car wreck. He'd come by to say goodbye, drove out of his way to come to Springfield to say goodbye, and I said goodbye to him that morning, and then he went on his way toward home, and he fell asleep and hit a bridge. And he had a broken leg and injured his chest. But he got out of that car, and there was a farmer working over in a field on a tractor. And he walked over to where that farmer was and told him he'd been wrecked his car. It was hung up on the bridge, and he was injured. And so that farmer drove him into Burge Hospital, which had a whole flight of stairs to walk up, and let Wayne off at the bottom of the stairs, and Wayne walked all the way up the steps before he collapsed. He had a broken leg and an injured lung and all that, and he was in the hospital for quite a while. I don't remember how long it was. But Mother and Daddy called his folks up in Nebraska, and they came down with an uncle of Wayne's and took him home when he was released from the hospital. And then Rose and Dwayne and me and Donna, this was on Rose's honeymoon, we went. I think Mother's the one that suggested that Rose and Dwayne go up to see Wayne on their honeymoon. And so Donna and I went with them on their honeymoon all the way up to Nebraska to see Wayne. Mother kind of directed everything. But Rosemarie would come out. We had like a hotel room or motel room on the way out, and she came out with her hair all stringy, and Donna and I were saying, Rose, this is your honeymoon. Get in there and fix your hair. She looked so bedraggled. Mother used to always roll our hair up in rag. I had naturally curly hair, so it was easy for me just to come out. But Rosemarie always had the straightest hair. It was just absolutely so stringy and straight. Anyway, we'd say, get in there and comb your hair, fix your hair before Dwayne sees you. Well, she didn't care. But anyway, we went up to see Wayne, and then with his leg in this big cast, he rode back like halfway down into Kansas someplace when we were going back home. And then he had to get out of the car and hitchhike back to his home back in
Oh.
Nebraska. And then later, later that year or a year after, he went to Union College. And I decided I would go there too. And so I went to Union, and he was my boyfriend for a while. And then, against all odds, I was very popular there. I was from a public school, and the dean of women was always after me because dresses that were fine, like sleeveless dresses. At Union College, you had to have your elbows covered. There was something about the upper arm that apparently was very attractive to men. So it was a school rule that you had to have your arms covered. You had to have your dress a certain length. You had to wear hose. Well, I was from public school. I didn't have any of those things. And the first time we went to what they now call a meet and greet, all the faculty were there, and Wayne was my escort there. And I had this white formal that it didn't have anything but a bodice here, across your bosom, and this white skirt. It was very beautiful. And everybody was all dressed up to meet the faculty, and that's what I wore. And when I got back to the dorm, in my mailbox was like more than a dozen requests for Saturday night's date, and also a big note from Miss Rimley, the Dean of Women, saying, "See me immediately." And so I thought, what in the world? I went down to see her, and she was a very stern woman, old maid, and she was madder than a hornet. "Don't you ever appear like that in public." And she said, "And you're never to wear that again, and you call your mother and daddy and tell them you have to." I said, "I don't have a jacket," because she was telling me had to cover my arms and my bodice had to be covered. And I was so shocked because I thought it was very pretty and what everybody wore then. It was just a bodice that covered your bosom and no straps on it or anything. And I'd worked a whole summer or maybe most of a year to get it. It was worn by Debbie Reynolds in a movie, and Netters had it in their showcase window, and it wasn't for sale. But anyway, they had a price tag on it. Nobody would buy it, but I worked all summer long, spending every penny of my paycheck.
Hmm.
Got that formal, and it was so beautiful. Everybody wanted to wear my formal all year long at school. But anyway, we went to that, and I had all these invitations from boys, and that note from Miss Rimley, "See me immediately." I had to cover my bosom and my arms. And Mother sent me a little black velvet jacket that she made or bought, or I think she made it herself.
Hmm.
But everybody wanted to borrow my white formal. And then Donna later told a story when she worked at Christian Record about how my Aunt Jewel and Uncle Clifford, who were actually alcoholics, they were very wealthy people in Donna's story, and they had gone to Hollywood where they were friends with some movie stars. And they had brought back this formal for Donna. And I was so mad about it. She told the story that they had given her this formal, which was from Debbie Reynolds, from her Aunt Jewel and Uncle Clifford. I loaned it to her to take to college. But anyway, she told that story and it wasn't true. And I called Christian Record and I said, "You can't put that on your Christmas CDs that were going out." Well, it was too late. They had already put it on. So anyway, it made me really angry with her at that time.